Hi, welcome to the small shed. This week I've got an update on our works at the mezzanine floor in the mezzanine sheds in Bromsgrove. See you in a minute. Now this week's video is not entirely just about the mezzanine floor itself. There's a couple of other things that I sort of hold dear to my way of thinking, and that is it's useful to have a model to explain a project. A picture's worth 1,000 words, and in this case I think it's probably worth 10,000 to actually have a model. People can't necessarily visualize a 2D drawing of a project, so in this instance half a day's work is going to see something that will hopefully make it much more easier for people to understand. The other thing is we can then use it later on to plan out where we're putting benches and equipment. And the other thing that I think it's useful for is demonstrating how just working a problem, working a project through your mind over a period of several days, if not weeks, can actually make it better in the end. You can improve things slowly, incrementally, and spot the odd cock up like I have done on this one that would probably end up making a better job for you as well at the end of the day. So let's start off and have a look at the shed itself, where we are, and I'll bring you up to date with where we are with the project as a whole. So that's built the mock-up as far as I'm going to. It'll be useful for sorting out where the benches go and everything like that. That's the unit as it stands at the moment. This is a kitchen area here with a toilet at the back. There's an office on the front. That's going to stay. But there's an awful lot of room in here that's beyond the kitchen area that's just wasted space. So the intention was to cut this down to make it smaller. And my original intention was that we would strengthen this stud wall, its metal stud, with timbers in the wall, and they would hold joists going across that would rest on the blockwork. What I hadn't spotted, because I was down here and I hadn't really thought it through properly when I looked, was that this wall is the party wall to next door's unit, and it goes all the way up to the ceiling. So that was the first problem, that I'd got nothing to do to support the joists at that end. And I thought, well, that's no problem, I'll just put a wall plate on and we can span it across there. It'll mean some holes in the wall that, you know, we prefer not to do because it's obviously a leased unit. And then one of those days, nights, several days later, when you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, suddenly I had the blinding obvious flash that why am I running the joists that way when I could run them that way? And indeed what that means is that I can build an internal wall before we do anything else in the shed. One of the problems we had before was that there's a lot of electrical stuff on this wall here that will need to be resited before we do any work. Whereas if I start running joists that way, not only are they shorter and therefore carrying more load for a given joist size, but it means we can get all that work done and get the deck done, get all the stuff out the unit up onto the deck before I even need to worry about that wall. So that's a sort of design development. These things just take a while sometimes to evolve. So that's the aim. We're going to build that wall up first, and what that will do is give me effectively that, which will then be ceilinged over with a deck rather than a suspended ceiling, and we've got a staircase that we may well use, and that would access up to the top. And then the other idea that we had, which started all of this off, was to have a mezzanine that ran across to this far wall. And it struck me again, as these things evolve and you see it in a model, that actually if I were to floor in this bit around the staircase, that span is about the same as that span, so there's no more work involved. But it'll mean we've got a little bit more storage up here, and the whole thing is contained in one side. The light will continue to come in down all the way down the main area where the benches are. So all in all, I think I've evolved a more elegant solution purely and simply by just working at the problem for day after day and thinking about it and changing it and swapping it round. I'm going to go down now to the shed with the people that are also involved in running the place. We've got approval to do the work. It's just now a matter of getting a program made out, which I shall do on spreadsheet. Because of the COVID problems, we are going to have to work slightly differently, but it does mean that we've got a period of maybe 2 or 3 months before the shed opens to general use, that we can therefore wreck the place a bit and not have too much problem having to clean it all up every night, so that people will need to come in and work the next day. So that's the plan. Let's go and have a look at the unit. Right, do you want to run through what we're talking about and where it is now? And then I've got all the program on my laptop and sorted it all out, unplugged it and forgot to put it in the car. But I can email you an Excel spreadsheet which has got the program on it. Okay. So that's laid out pretty much where we are. It will change. I'm up to revision C already, but it's minor stuff. And it's not time, it's just task. You can't, take that door out, take the door frame out, and you can't take the door frame out until the door's so it just works down like that. And then we can just tick them off or colour them in or whatever when we get each task done. And now, because I'd screwed up, we can actually get the electrical works done more or less independently now, whereas before we couldn't
move until we had that done. Okay, that's fair play.
If you want that, I don't know. If you want that's what we've got at the moment. That's our unit.
I think you can get safely there.
The original intention. That's where I am. The program is now, I can email it to you if you like, and then that gives us all the stages of work split into, demolition. I want to put in day one temporary lighting and some temporary lighting, which is 110 volt, which is what you would have if you were building a site. Yeah. Because you can't die from, you can, but you don't usually get killed. If you get a shock off 110 volts, you're okay, which is why they use it on buildings. Right, now we had a good meeting yesterday in the shed, socially distancing, to get the progress sorted. I just need half a day now to just get my head around all of the sort of minor details that we need to think about. It's the sort of thing you can't really get off a drawing or photographs or anything, because you never really cover it. Typical example is here, where I knew there was basically roll insulation up on top of the tiles in the suspended ceiling area, which is fine, and I'd taken an allowance for removing that stuff before we got the tiles out. What I actually found when I went in yesterday and had a very quiet look to find levels is that actually the tiles have all individually got the insulation on the back of them. so it's going to make it a lot easier to get them out. It's going to be a nightmare to get them clean because they've got 2 or 3, well, probably 10 or 15 years worth of dust on them. But that's a minor issue really. It just saves one complete operation in that we can just take the tiles out and away we go. And the other thing is to establish what sort of cock-ups there are in amongst it all, like that, where they've clearly made levels up with wood in a way that I'm not entirely happy with. So obviously that's going to affect all sorts of things later on. And the other thing I wanted to do while I was down here was do a stock take of all the material I've got to play with. There's no point in designing a wall to be 100mm overall thickness if you've got nothing but 100 by 50 timbers and you've then got to put plasterboard and OSB on the outsides of it. So if I find out what I've got to work with, we can then decide what we're going to use for joists, what we're going to use for wall studding, and if we need to buy anything else, at least we can get it on order then. So we'll just get all the materials into one place so that we can actually start and see what lengths they are and how good they are, and if they need denailing, that's the other problem. I hope that's been of interest. We are now in a position where we've got the go-ahead. Thanks to the COVID situation slowing down and sorting things out a bit, we are now able to get a group of up to about 4 people working on it. And the one thing that's been an advantage is it means we can get on with this work when there's nobody at the shed doing any work on their own projects. So it'll purely be 4 people working specifically on the mezzanine floor. That means you can leave all the stuff lying around, you can leave your tools out, you can leave bits of joists lying across workbenches, and just generally it will make it much quicker to get that work done. I suspect we'll be going back in force to the shed in September, so effectively that means we've probably got 2 or 3 months to get this work done, and having had that time to plan and think about it when no one could go anywhere near the unit, that's probably shaved a couple of 3 weeks off the build time anyway, by the way the design has evolved and simplified. So we'll get on next time I visit it with actually building stuff down there and doing work on site. Hope it's been of interest and look forward to seeing you next week, and we'll build something different, I hope. See you then. Bye.